Hey, it's Chuck here, and I've got a cool new feature that I want to tell you about in C# version 12, which is part of .NET Core version 8. So first of all, I'll tell you what it is, the technicals of using primary constructors and when to use it and when not to use it. So let's dive right in. The primary constructor is a new feature that we see in C# version 12, which is part of .NET version 8. It's simply a constructor whose parameters are visible to the entire class. The parameters are part of the object state, which means that we don't have to declare fields or properties to hold those parameters since they're already visible. We specify the primary constructor as part of the class definition itself. So let's say that we have a class, looks something like this, called bank service, that takes a couple of arguments as constructor parameters, and then we're assigning those parameters to some fields so that we can use them throughout the remainder of the class. As you can see here, our logger is being used inside of deposit. We're probably using the context elsewhere. When we change this over to a primary constructor, the constructor parameters move to the class definition. Notice we got rid of the constructor altogether. We also got rid of the fields because the parameters, CTX and logger, are visible throughout the class. They are also captured into the object's state, so they are persisted throughout the object's lifespan. Pretty cool, huh? Now, syntactically, the primary constructor parameters are visible throughout the class, but as parameters, not as fields or properties. So you can't put this or use this on the left-hand side of a dot. Also, if you define some other constructors, some normal regular constructors as part of your class, all of those must invoke the primary constructor as part of the initializer list. As you can see in this example, we're invoking the primary constructor from the normal constructor and passing the context and the logger so that those are parameters that are visible to the remainder of the class. Now you might be asking, now why the primary constructor? What's the purpose? Well, in the first example, a lot of cases in dependency injection, we might pass in a context and a logger. The primary constructor saves us about 4 or 5 lines of code because we don't have to create the fields and we don't have to create the constructor body. We can also use it as base class initialization. The base class specification can contain the parameters from the primary constructor. So you can see that our bank service is passing the context and the logger to our base service. This way we don't have to, again, create traditional constructors and pass those along. We can also use it, as you can see in this example, in the base service to initialize properties, especially if they're properties that make some computation from those parameters. So to summarize, use a primary constructor to capture parameters instead of creating fields or properties that are initialized from a traditional constructor. It'll save you a few lines of code. Use it as part of a property where we're computing the value of the property from those parameters, again, saving you having to declare those discrete fields. We can save a few lines of code when we're simply passing values from the derived class constructor to the base class, and the derived class doesn't use those parameters anywhere itself. Don't use it if you're simply initializing fields or properties like you would in a traditional constructor, especially properties, because that doesn't save you any time. You still have to assign to the properties in either case, and you have the public properties. So if it saves you a few lines of code, by all means use it. If it doesn't, then just use a regular traditional constructor. There's no implied savings or performance difference whatsoever. Hey, I hope you enjoyed my presentation on primary constructors. If you have comments or questions about this, please leave them in the comments below and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our other Learn It Short videos as we release them.